I'm the executive director for the Idaho STEM Action Center. And joining me, I also have several co-presenters. To start with, I'll introduce Erica Compton, who is the director for the Idaho ecosystem. And we'll be queuing things back and forth between us. But first off, I just want to welcome everyone. We're so grateful that you took the time out of your day to learn about what's going on, both with the Idaho STEM Action Center and with the Idaho ecosystem. We have a lot of big news and a lot of changes that are taking place. And we know that there's going to be a lot of questions that you all have as we go along. We do have Katie Bosch-Wilson, who is monitoring the chat as we go forward. I would ask everyone to keep their microphones muted, but feel free to go ahead and enter your questions into the chat. And then at the end of our presentation, we'll have a real Q&A session where if we don't touch on your question during the presentation, we'll go back and we'll make sure that we do get those answered. So very much looking forward to letting you know more about what's going on here. Just as a preview of what you might learn today, we will be touching on the transition and for the new STEM ecosystem, where they're at. You're going to get an introduction of the teams at both the Idaho STEM Action Center and at the Idaho ecosystem. And there'll be plenty of time for questions. So we want to make sure that you have a piece in this too. I just also want to let everybody know that I have also opened up a scheduling app. And I personally will be taking open office hours on Tuesdays and Fridays for the foreseeable future, where anyone can book a 20-minute meeting with me, and we can talk about your dreams, your obstacles, STEM in Idaho strategy, any questions you might have. But I'm really looking forward to those conversations, and I hope you will take advantage of that. I believe Katie is going to put the link for that into the chat for everyone. So I hope you will take advantage of that. All right, now let's see if I can switch slides. Did we get a thumbs up from somebody that's watching? Okay, great. We did get there. So let's jump right in. So how did we get where we are today? And I guarantee you, if you're here for the whole webinar, you're going to get all of the pieces that I mentioned. But we wanted to give you a little bit of context just to start things off so that you understand how we got where we are today. It all started not too long ago when the STEM Action Center was founded as an office under the governor's office. And this was really a joint effort of a number of different interested parties who saw the need for a highly trained STEM workforce in Idaho and the demand that was already starting to press in on Idaho. Another aspect, a kind of a three-pronged aspect, this need for a highly trained workforce that drove the whole effort, this need for a coordinating body to help keep all of the different pieces of STEM education and activities organized within the state and efficient. And then also this connection point for really making sure that there are strong relationships between employers and the education system within Idaho. And that's really the impetus that bore the STEM Action Center. And since then, boy, with the help of all of you, including the staff that are joined, but all of you that are here today, so many people have had a hand in this. Momentum has built. It was very clear that there was a big need for some sort of coordinating body for STEM education. We've, throughout history, of course, I'm rather new. I started in on December 5th of last year. That being said, I've been a partner of the STEM Action Center since it founded in my careers at Career Technical Education and then Workforce Development Council. And momentum has built, and it built so fast that capacity has become an issue in keeping up with the needs as far as all of the whole state of Idaho and STEM education and STEM activities. Capacity started to become the straw that was breaking the camel's back. And so we now are moving into this new phase, which in this slide we call doubling efforts. And that's a lot about what we're going to talk about today, is how this stage works. So as an interlude, I'd like to really go in and introduce you to the STEM Action Center team. We are a small but mighty team and always have been. Right now, we're a little bit smaller than normal. And I would just like to put a plug out there that we will be hiring for a couple of positions in the very near future. So please keep an eye on our LinkedIn page if you might be interested in some of those positions. But our team is made up of some incredible individuals. We have myself, who serves as the executive director. We have Katie Bosch-Wilson, who is stepping into a new role within the STEM Action Center, which is the STEM Education Coordination Officer. We have Stephanie Lee, not Steph, I should say Stephanie Lee, who is also stepping into a new role as our operations officer here at the STEM Action Center. We have Chris Bengravat, who has recently stepped into a brand new role as our communications manager. And then we have Francine McGrew, who is now a brand new, not brand new, but pretty new financial officer. So lots of new faces, lots of new spaces at the STEM Action Center. And we're really excited about that. We welcome you to reach out to us at any time. And we have a slide with some of our contact information at the very end. So one more reason to tune in to the very end of this webinar. The STEM Action Center also has an advisory board that supports us and keeps us connected, and they were integral in helping us really look at the new vision of the STEM Action Center and work through the processes that would be necessary in order to make these changes. And I would just love to give a shout out to each and every one of these dedicated individuals for all of the work that they do. We also have a foundation that is associated with the STEM Action Center, the STEM Action Center Foundation, who also has a board of directors. And I would be remiss if I didn't give those individuals a shout out as well, because they really power and fuel a lot of the work that we're able to do here at the STEM Action Center. That being said, it really does take a village to ensure that everything is working together. And one more reason that we need to really double down when it comes to capacity and covering all of these needs. So hundreds of partners that we have all around the state who are supportive of STEM education and STEM activities. Problem solvers that are incredibly enthusiastic about the work that is taking place in Idaho. Now, the STEM ecosystem has actually been something that the STEM Action Center has owned to date. And I'll let Erica get into deeper detail about what that looks like and where we're at. But right now, with this transition, we are very, very proud to assert ourselves as a member of the ecosystem. In fact, a founding member of the Idaho ecosystem. And I will just give one tiny story about how this has come into place. And I think it will help some of the conversations that happen later. But just recently, for the very first time, the STEM Action Center staff volunteered or put forward a volunteer opportunity where they were able to act as a volunteer for the Idaho STEM ecosystem. And this is, I think, a true step forward in the way that the Idaho STEM Action Center can work in coordination with the ecosystem. With that, I would love to turn it over to Erica Compton.
Thanks, Katie. I appreciate it. So yes, so we have a new home. I think that's the exciting news is that the STEM ecosystem fully transitioned as of July 1st under the Idaho Business for Education kind of umbrella. Some of you may be familiar with IBE. They've been doing work in Idaho advocating for education excellence for, I think, 12 years, led by Rod Grammer and a robust team that I'll talk a little bit about in a bit. They are true advocates for education broadly across the state. They're looking at, helping build a skilled workforce for Idaho employers, and they're striving to be a driving force in the development of an Idaho education system that has graduates prepared to really lead in the future. So strategically, this is great in many ways. First of all, we've always thought that moving outside of state government might be beneficial to allow a little bit more freedom and flexibility. Many of you are all familiar with when we do when we have opportunities or professional developments, we have these guidelines we have to adhere to under the state. They can pinch at times. So, without those, if we have a shorter training and we want to provide lunch, we can go ahead and just provide lunch. So we don't have quite as many guidelines that we need to follow. So that's one benefit. But the biggest one really is that if you'd advance the slide, I'll jump ahead because it's really how IBE is structured now, as well as who's there, who are the players at IBE that matter. As I said, they've been around 12 years and they have another program underneath them called the Youth Apprenticeship Program. So they had a little bit of a model of having kind of a division of IBE, so to speak, that matched with the ecosystem coming under it kind of as a parent organization. The STEM Action Center is continuing support through a 5-year sponsorship, hopefully longer, as needs develop, to support the infrastructure of the ecosystem under IBE because it needed to be independent in some ways for financially. So let me tell you a little bit, if you don't know about the Youth Apprenticeship Program and why some of these things are just so wonderful. YAP is a federally funded program that helps place youth ages 16 to 24 in registered apprenticeship programs across the state. And they have regional representatives all across the state working with business, schools, etc., to make that program successful. Perfect opportunity to plug in hub coordinators, the regional leadership teams, the work we're doing in the communities with the YAP representatives. Robert Sanchez, who's VP kind of doing school outreach for IBE, also has a team of vice chairs across the state in every region who are doing work, doing school outreach and looking at literacy and readiness. And again, a perfect team for us to partner with and leverage the work so that we can amplify results, enhance impact, and again, avoid the silos that I know many of you, I know you and I have talked about making sure that one hand knows what the other's doing so that we're not duplicating efforts. So it's very exciting to have that kind of opportunity to work that way. The structure under that is, of course, I'm director of the ecosystem. We have the 3 amazing hub coordinators that I'm going to introduce next. And we are in the process of hiring a statewide program coordinator who will assist with kind of be the second in command to assist with statewide efforts, supporting the hub coordinators and some of the programs we're going to show you in just a second. So if you want to jump to the next slide, you'll see the smiling faces of the ecosystem. And of course, some of those will look familiar. But I do want to introduce Rebecca Lulu, who has taken over Region 3 as the hub coordinator. Many will be familiar with Rebecca, but we welcomed her on July 17th, so she's new in the role. And of course, Susan and Ashley continued as hub coordinators for their regions. So let's just jump one more slide forward. And we're going to kind of ping pong back and forth. I'll let Katie start.
Thank you. Let me just get unmuted there. So we wanted to take a moment and talk about kind of the Venn diagram of focus that's been created here by this capacity add and by this transition. So what is the STEM Action Center's work going to be focused on? What are we going to take and use all of this great energy and our great team to work towards? Well, really it is focused exceedingly on our legislative requirements. And we are reading that book as closely as we can. And our key charge as an agency under the Office of the Governor is to be that coordinating force for STEM education and activities in the state. So you can think about the STEM education and activity system as a very, very complex system. And we would like to step into the role of making sure that that system makes sense, that it's efficient, that duplications, instead of existing side by side, one of them can lift up one side and one of them can lift up another side, and that everyone's talking to each other. So we're really excited about stepping into this coordination role. You can look at it as we organize and assist. One of the key aspects that we'll be stepping into in this year is an update of the STEM education strategic plan. We have inherited this plan from the State Board of Education. It needs to be updated, and we will be seeking all of our stakeholders' assistance in making sure that that comes true. Another aspect that we'll be diving into this year is really getting a lay of the land. So you're going to see a few surveys come out from the Idaho STEM Action Center, and I would encourage you, please, to fill them out as they come through. But we are going to be also doing a survey that will help us determine what activities are taking place within the state. This will include a lot of our state agency partners, and really getting an idea and an understanding of what's taking place and how we can better coordinate those efforts. Another aspect of that coordination effort is facilitating connections. We do this every day. And every phone call that we have, somebody has an idea over on this side, and then it automatically fits up with a project that someone else is doing on the other side. And we want to help tie those threads together for everyone. Just happened yesterday in a lunch that I was having with Invent Idaho. Very exciting things, opportunities to tie them in with new partners. And we want to continue to do that work. One important piece of that is that we need to be in the know in order for that to be really successful. So we want to keep hearing from you. Professional development, we will still be acting in that space. Again, very, very key to our legislation is providing STEM related education for our teachers and ensuring that those professional development efforts are based around best practices. We also will be focusing in on resources that serve the state. Learning Blade would be an example of that, but researching and pursuing those types of statewide contracts that can uplift everybody within the state and really make a difference on the statewide level. Work-based learning, our program that really speaks to this at this point in time is our teacher externship program. But we're going to be exploring the entire work-based learning continuum, really focusing on those aspects that are closer to in the classroom. So those learning about work aspects, and finding ways that we can engage our classrooms and our employers in those activities. Pilot programs, we will be researching and looking into how do we start a pilot program within the STEM Action Center that can allow us to really support things that might be exciting and produce best practices that at some point might be, something that the ecosystem would take on as a boots on the ground effort. And then, of course, the ecosystem sponsorship is key to our work. This partnership allows us to really step into this space of coordination without losing that kind of action, that regionally based, that locally based, the boots on the ground efforts that are so important to driving STEM education and activities throughout the state. There are a number of areas that we will, of course, both focus on. And those include, one of the amazing things about the ecosystem is it's a membership-based entity. And they will have, members that are employers that will be able to connect into projects that we're working on, etc. It's a wonderful setup for a great flow of information. And back and forth, these challenges and solutions coming back and forth, flowing between the STEM Action Center and the ecosystem. So I think we're set up for a great first step into these new focus areas. Erica, do you want to speak a little bit about what the ecosystem is going to focus in on?
Absolutely. So as Katie mentioned, of course, we are a statewide network, of engaged partners. And so one of them being the STEM Action Center. So we will obviously be making statewide connections and working statewide as well. But the sweet spot and the unique situation we're in is that we have these regional hubs, these amazing STEM professionals in their regions who are poised to support at a more local level and so we want to take full advantage of the opportunity to engage at that community level and really try to build infrastructure and sustainability in these communities through support like tools, technology, time, treasure, all of those kind of things to rally the troops in communities and empower local leaders and leadership. We can't do it all. We know that we need to build that infrastructure. We need to build those leaders, and we need to build that and fuel that passion so that as we grow and as we have more to take on, those seeds that we planted and they can grow and develop and be more self-sustaining, of course, always with the ecosystem support, but it will have those levels of kind of new communities and emerging, and then those advanced that have lots of resources and connections and kind of momentum. So that's just extremely exciting to be able to build that regional strength, I think. Of course, we'll continue to collaborate nationally, sharing and learning with others through the STEM learning ecosystem community of practice and bringing that information and those lessons learned back to Idaho so that we can look at how we continue to grow and improve as an ecosystem.
Great. All right. So with that, we're going to do a little bit of a deeper dive because the focus is really important, but a lot of the way that many of you interact with our focus is through programs. And so I'm actually going to turn this slide over to Katie to talk a little bit about the Idaho STEM Action Center programs as they currently exist.
Hi all, Katie Bush-Wilson here from the Idaho STEM Action Center. So we have a variety of programs that many of you have been part of throughout the history probably. And so we kind of wanted to just give everybody a visual of what's staying and what's going. So some things that will be staying at the Idaho STEM Action Center, we will continue our externship program, which we've grown that to over 80 plus externs this year with the hope to continue that next year. iSTEM in the sense that it will continue to be 6 regional hubs. And then with that, we'll also have the iSTEM libraries. We are bringing on a new program called Idaho Connect. So keep your eye out for more information on that. And that's a platform where industry can connect directly in with classrooms through video conferencing and that kind of thing. And you can, as an educator, reach out and say, this is what I need. And you can get that need through that. So if you're in a rural district and you need an engineer coming in, but you don't have anyone in your community you can lean on, Idaho Connect would be a way to do that. Along with that, Katie mentioned our legislation. We have a variety of legislative items that we are asked to do, one of which is STEM school designation. So that will stay with us. Idaho STEM diploma, which feeds into our STEM scholarship. We have the Sawtooth STEM Educator Award, which was formerly known as Indeeds. So we'll continue to be doing that. And we're going to continue to be the home for Idaho Science and Engineering fairs. And then, you know, one thing with this all, right? So all of these programs are technically staying with us, but I am sure, and I know this will continue. If you reach out to your hub coordinator and you say, hey, I need information on this, they know who to direct that conference and those questions to, and vice versa. And so while we may be separating, we're going to still continue to work very, very closely together. And I believe Ashley from the EcosySTEM is going to chat a little bit about their programs as well.
Yeah, thanks, Katie. So Ashley Schaffner, for those of you that don't know, I'm the regional hub coordinator for South and East Idaho. And some of the programs that will be coming with us include CSOs. For those of you that don't know, it's Chief Science Officers. It's a STEM leadership opportunity and student advocacy program for students in grades 6 through 12. It's been our program from the beginning. The regional hub coordinators really help make sure that this gets into schools and help support the educators that are doing this work. So we'll get to continue that work. Another program that is going to live with the ecosystem is IDX, Idaho Exhibition of Ideas, which is a team-based digital design and fabrication competition where students practice design, prototyping, and 3D printing skills. We also are keeping STEM Discovery Workshop. This is a relatively new program, but it's another one that's been very much an ecosystem initiative that introduces a comprehensive framework for developing high quality hands-on STEM learning activities for students, supporting schools, districts, and teachers in that work. And then another program that missed getting on this slide, but is super important and has been within conversations is HiveBright, which is a community platform that will facilitate networking and collaboration within our STEM community. And so we're doing a lot of work there. That's another one. Keep your eyes open. You'll see information come out about that. And we'd love to have you join us on our HiveBright platform.
Great. We will be joining on the HiveBright platform. That is for sure. So let me get here. So let's get into the meat and potatoes of this conversation. And that really is, what does this look like for you? And so we kind of broke this out into a couple of different sides. I'll start with the STEM Action Center side. What can we help with? When would you come to us? What would you come to us for? So we would love to be a connection point for statewide efforts, for strategy building, to be a thought partner when it comes to best practices and building best practices. We still would like the local level to communicate to us about obstacles and opportunities that are occurring. because oftentimes those same obstacles and opportunities may be occurring in a similar community across the state. And the only way for us to bridge those gaps is for us to have an earpiece into what's happening. So we definitely recommend and ask for you to continue an open dialogue with us. Again, I have those open office hours. I'm going to keep those on the book for the foreseeable future. I would love for those conversations to just be full of ideas and strategies and things that you're trying to solve, but just have been hitting your head against the wall on. As I mentioned before, forging closer relationships between education and employers. We're going to be working on a number of different projects that will be helping in that area, Idaho Connect being one of them, which Katie mentioned. Again, facilitating these statewide strategic planning efforts. So as you see surveys come out, we would really appreciate you participating in them. That will be only one phase of the strategic planning process. That'll be like the initial, getting the lay of the land. And then we'll, of course, as we ask individuals to take part in at a higher level with the strategic planning, we hope that you will engage with us. Again, that high quality STEM related professional development, we still want you to come to us for iSTEM. We still want to make sure that as we are working through our EduCurious opportunities, that you're coming to us for those. We will still be offering those. And then again, those resources, and hopefully now we'll be able to do a better job of publicizing and really getting the word out about those statewide resources like Learning Blade and Idaho Connect. We also will be still receiving donations. So we would, always appreciate connections to funding sources, even if it's not something that will actually directly come to us. Or if it's something that would make more sense for the ecosystem. Idaho Business for Education is also a nonprofit entity. And we want to make sure that everybody knows that there are opportunities for generous individuals who would like to contribute to the STEM landscape in Idaho. And we will help you find the right spot to do that. So what's changing? Well, our grants mechanisms are completely changing. We will be discontinuing the P3 awards and the sponsorship awards. Erica will give a little bit, or let me see, Susan will give a little bit of an update on the grants programs that will be available through the ecosystem. And the other piece is that we are taking a step away from some of the boots on the ground efforts that we have engaged in the past, and giving those new life through the ecosystem. Susan, would you like to talk about the ecosystem side?
I would. Thank you, Katie. We are really excited to have our new home with the IBE and also continue our close collaboration with STEM Action Center. It's really been an awesome transition thus far, and we're looking forward to the future. So we love to connect with you, and you are our partners. Everybody that comes into contact with the ecosystem, that is part of the ecosystem, we consider you our partners. We all have shared interest in the STEM ecosystem. And we want you to know that regional hub coordinators, the three of us that are here today, we are available to visit educators and other partners to share ideas and connect to resources. So for instance, I was at Potlatch Elementary doing robotics, and Principal Jill Diamond said, gosh, we just love this and I'd like to do more. And I thought about it and I thought, oh, well, there's this computer science education week, and they do Hour of Code in December, and we have a fabulous partner who I believe is on this call. I saw him before, John Castleman with SEL, and he brought a team of engineers over for CS week. So this is the kind of thing that we we like to initiate, and they're going on their 3rd year of having that. We plan to do a media blitz this year with it. Next bullet point, support regional STEM programs and events through funding and regional resources, volunteers, materials, networking, all kinds of stuff that we coordinate through the hub. There are iSTEM lending libraries that we might direct you to, and lots of other resources. Provide opportunities for partners to collaborate on events and programs. All of our hubs have regular times that we meet for like a Zoom for an hour a month. And our partners come in, and for instance, at the July meeting, our Area Health Education Center person, Liz Bryant, was there, and she met Emily Hawes, who is the Panhandle Health up in Sandpoint, and they realized that they had some collaboration, that some things to talk about, and it would be great to meet. And it happened that Liz was going up there the next week, and so they arranged that. That's the kind of stuff that happens when we get our partners together and we all talk about what we do. So provide opportunities for partners to collaborate on events and programs. That was that happened during that Zoom. Meet with industry partners to share ideas for engaging with educators. Stephanie Hoffman is up in North Idaho Building Contractors Association, and she had an idea to do a pet parade of homes, and she applied for a grant with us, and various levels at the schools had these challenges. So kindergartners maybe designed pet homes with Legos, and then all the way through seniors in high school were actually building the homes, and they gave awards and had them at the building contractors' regular parade of homes. And so there are lots of opportunities and ways that we like to engage with you. Please invite us. We also facilitate regional student programs and competitions. So Ashley already talked about IDX and the Chief Science Officer program, so I won't repeat those, but those are a couple of examples that we will be very involved in. And then at the bottom, we've got the ecosystem will provide grants and sponsorships. So as Katie mentioned, we are now kind of going to be more the folks that'll be taking those over. We did the regional hub funds before, and so it was just that we were under the STEM Action Center when we did that. We've given over $100,000 each hub over the last year and a half, and we anticipate doing similar, a very similar program with the hub funds coming up. Now, there are also, we realize, statewide needs, like there might be a statewide competition. There will be some funds available, and we will be getting more information out this fall about some of that. We also provide competition travel support in state and nationally. So I will.
If I
Great,
could
thank
just
you,
address-
Susan.
Sorry, if I could just address a question from Gina
Sure.
Quid. No, at this point, the P3, and I tried to put it up, at this point, the P3 as it existed will probably not be structured the same under the STEM ecosystem. The reality is there are just fewer funds for granting and sponsorships overall at the ecosystem level than existed under the STEM Action Center. That being said, one of the things we've discussed is that applications, projects that have donor support kind of rise to the top. And perhaps, again, this is all in flux. We just started like just barely a month ago under this new structure, so we're still working out everything. But it could be that those could receive higher funding levels, which kind of looks like we're matching it or that we're increasing funding because we're seeing that you have community involvement, donor support. So that's a possibility. Again, with the idea that the thinking around that is that we're looking at how do we build communities and how do we encourage that local connection and support. So that might be a way we can do that. But unfortunately, at this point, the P3 as it exists is no longer.
So I think more information to come this fall as the Ecosystem unveils their new grants program. I don't mean to speak for Erica, so you can tell me I'm wrong if I am, but I believe that she would probably welcome feedback from the field as to what types of needs, etc., there are out there and what types of grants might be helpful in the future, since they are developing that now. I saw a nod. So oops, I skipped ahead. Oop. There we go. All right. So I will go ahead, since I'm already talking, and just talk about the STEM AC piece, and then I'll pass it over to Ashley for the ecosystem. So how do you get involved? And we've talked a little bit about this around the way, but let's be very specific. So with the STEM AC, we want you to come to our table. We want you to talk with us. We want to understand what is happening out there, so that we can together build a statewide strategy that lifts everyone to the top and really does build that STEM educated workforce that we all need in the future. Please send us invitations to your venues, to your tables, to your meetings. If you need a speaker, we would love for you to reach out to us. If you need someone to sit on a panel, if you just are having a conversation with your Chamber of Commerce and you feel like, this is something that the STEM Action Center should be involved in, because it talks about strategy, it talks about coordination, it talks about needs for additional resources that need to be built into the system. Please incorporate us in those conversations. Again, please participate when the new surveys come out. We need you. If we don't hear back from the people who are involved, we will have incomplete information. And then we would definitely welcome you to forge or introduce us, make any introductions, and assist us with connections that of people or entities or corporations who are interested in funding STEM in Idaho. That's another way that we can assist. Again, that might not all come to the STEM Action Center Foundation. There might be a better place for it, but we would love to be able to have those conversations and build additional resources as they come in. And then also, CS, Computer Science Education Week, Hour of Code. That's one example of something that we'll be partnering with the STEM ecosystem on, but we will be seeking volunteers. That's one of those ways that we can help forge relationships between employers and education, is by hosting opportunities like this. And I will turn it over to Ashley.
Perfect. Thanks, Katie. So for the ecosystem, some ways you can get involved. We've actually touched on many of these already, but just to reiterate, we have HiveBright, our new community platform that will be rolling out within the next couple of months. And one of the things that would be a huge help to us, especially as we're getting our footing in this new space, is to sign up with us under that platform and spread the word about it, so we can build a really strong network of collaborators. A big part of the power behind the ecosystem is our ability to collaborate with STEM professionals and educators and interested individuals across the state. And this is a really nice way to be able to do that. Also, our hub leadership meetings, events within your region, activities going on, just engage at that local level and really be a part of that work, and share out information on those programs. If you can't be a part of the Latah County Fair, but you hear about it, spread the word, let other people know, and help get your networks involved as well. And then invite us to the table. We want to help you, and we can't help you and your community if we don't know where the needs exist. So getting us involved in those conversations is a huge part of what we do.
Thank you, Ashley. And we'll go ahead and get to the next slide. And I believe Rebecca is going to take it for the ecosystem here.
Yeah, hello, Rebecca Lulu with the Swish Hub. So coming up for the ecosystem, we have some great events. STEM Day at the Western Idaho Fair is back. We will be there August 18th at noon. We are still looking for people who want to lead an activity or just be with us at the ecosystem table. Passport to STEM at the Latah County Fair is happening September 14th through 17th in Moscow. And I know Susan's very excited about that and working really hard to get that up and running. We have grant opportunities that are opening in the fall, and we're excited to share that information out with you once we have our infrastructure in place. And then I think Katie was going to hop in on the STEM AC piece.
Katie Bush Wilson here. So we have a couple opportunities that are currently open right now at the STEM Action Center, and then we have some that are coming up. So kind of mark your calendars. So one thing we currently have open is the Sawtooth STEM Educator Award. It is open through August 15th, and it's an award for, there's 2 awards, one for an elementary space educator and one for a secondary space educator. It is a self-nomination form, or you can nominate a fabulous educator that's in your life right now. And I would highly encourage you to get in there and fill it out if you want to self-nominate yourself, or if your child's 3rd grade teacher is the best STEM educator you've ever seen in your life. So I believe Teresa dropped in the chat the space where you can fill that application out, and we'll be announcing the winners of that shortly there. Well, they'll be announced in November, sorry, at the ITC Gala. And so please get some nominations in there. Another space we have, and I know there's been a lot of chat about funding opportunities in the chat. And one of the things that we currently have open is an out of school time grant through some federal funding that the Idaho STEM Action Center got. And so if you have a program that lives in the out of school space, so after school, weekends, on a Friday, spring break, looking at the beginning of next summer, those are all examples of opportunities that this grant would meet. They have to be obviously STEM based because it's through the STEM Action Center, and it has to meet some learning loss things that happen due to COVID. But we would encourage you to apply for that grant, and I believe Teresa's dropping the links in the chat on those. And then iSTEM is going to be happening again, and so we'll be doing some shout out for strand providers at the end of this year, and then iSTEM participant application and extern applications will be opening early next year. And then this has been mentioned a couple of times. So we have Hour of Code and CS Education Week coming up in December. We would love to partner with the folks on that. Last year, we had a great opportunity to partner industry with schools to have industry volunteers go in and work alongside students across the state in coding activities, and it gave industry an opportunity to talk about what they do, but also just, you know, support educators in schools and classrooms. And so I dropped in the chat earlier 2 links. One, if you're a teacher and you want to do it and you want us to help you find some industry to come to your space, and one for industry if you would like to volunteer your time on that. We do all the legwork on that, but all you have to do is volunteer, and I will do all the legwork on matching y'all up and doing all that fun stuff. And that's a space where we will partner heavily with Ecosystem, because especially in Susan and Ashley's area, they know their space so much better, and Rebecca knows so much for Region 3 that I don't know. So it'll be a space where we will all partner together on for sure.
Thank you, Katie. And thank you, Katie and and Rebecca, I believe. Appreciate that. Let's go ahead and go into our next slide. So we want to make sure before we go into our very rich, I'm sure, question and answer period, that you have some information about how to get connected with us. We will also have a slide that has contact information, but please follow us on our social media pages. Again, one more plug. Please book with me for these open office hours, and I will turn it over to Rebecca to talk about the ecosystem side.
All right, so some of these are new and some have been established for a bit. Our new website for the ecosystem is idahostem.org. Our Facebook is facebook.com/IdahoSTEM. That's a newer page. I encourage you to go and follow that page so you can get all the statewide information, big opportunities. For Swish, we are continuing that Facebook page. IC is continuing theirs. And then we have for Instagram an ecosystem page, and then LinkedIn and link ecosystem page. In the chat, I'm putting the ecosystem link tree. That's just like one place for all those links for the ecosystem. Then I also have the one for Swish here that I will post in the chat as well. So a quick way to get connected with us.
Thank you, Rebecca. And now the moment that we've all been waiting for. And as we have the question and answer section of this webinar, I will put up the contact information for key staff at both the ecosystem and at the STEM Action Center, so that you can just take a peek. If you just want to grab an email or grab a phone number, you can do that and give any of us a call. But with that, I believe we will open up the question and answer period. I am totally fine with people unmuting themselves, as long as we don't have just, if it turns into a complete disaster, we'll resend it and questions will go through Katie. But let's start with, if you would like to unmute yourself and ask a question, go ahead.
And we're particularly interested in, back on that other slide, just like, have we missed something? You know, sometimes we are so in the middle of something that we are not seeing things that we've missed and that you have questions about. Is there something that wasn't super clear? We're doing this webinar again in September, so this is also opportunity to learn and adapt this webinar to better serve the needs of all of you. So please throw those in the chat, but please feel free. We love hearing your voices, as we love seeing your faces, and unmute and let us know if there's something or a specific team member you have a question for. Oh, come on, I know we're good, but we can't be that good. There's got to be something.
I will just chime in kind of about some of the chat that's been happening. So some of the questions were around donations and tax credits. And so we will Idaho Business for Education does not qualify for the education tax credit. They are a 501c3, so they do qualify for, you know, that tax credit through that space. If that tax credit is something that's unbelievably meaningful for you in the sense that it's really helpful, you can still donate through the Idaho STEM Action Center to get that tax credit. So I just wanted to directly call that out.
Hey, Katie, thank you for addressing that question. This is Raj. I had asked that question earlier. I just wanted to bring up how that mechanism has been extremely meaningful when we have partner-funded programs. The matching funds from Idaho STEM Action Center were definitely helpful, but the sense of community that it involves, having all the partner organization contribute to a program, was incredibly good and inclusive. And having the educational tax credit for the donors was also meaningful. So even if the funds are not available, would there be a way to have the donors donate to STEM Action Center Foundation and have those funds available for programs?
Not at least in the current way that we're working things. Part of the I'll turn back to the beginning of our presentation when we talked about the capacity piece. Part of what we really need to turn our lens towards is that statewide coordination piece. And I think what we can look at this as, Raj, is a problem that we need to solve together. So maybe we can't be that place any longer, but that to me seems like one of those obstacles that we do need to solve for. So I would love it if you would actually book with me in one of my open office hours, and you and I could talk through what that looks like for you, so I can get a deeper understanding of where you're coming from, and we can problem solve it together.
Excellent. Thank you, Katie.
Mm-hmm.
There's a question in the chat from Nick about asking me, Nick Aldinger, where do I see or would like to see the STEM ecosystem in the next 5 years? And so, and then Kathy had one about the past working groups and leadership teams. So I'm going to kind of wrap this all up into one kind of broad answer. So first of all, just infrastructurally, yes, the working groups and or leadership teams will be re-energized. The working groups, several of them had kind of dropped off, and then another had kind of formed. So we will be coming back to the ecosystem members, partners, and talking about next steps around that. We had an amazing leadership team and some great work done in strategic planning with Spark Strategic Solutions as our facilitator. And so we are definitely looking to continue work around that. It may not look exactly the same, but I think it's going to be structured quite similar. I would like to even get a more formalized, perhaps advisory board leadership team in place than we had even in the past. So, so yes, we will be looking at that. One of the goals of the ecosystem, and perhaps my greatest function right now, is to look for additional support for the ecosystem, both in time and in treasure. So I have a couple of opportunities that we're looking at for external grants that would help us provide infrastructural support. And that would allow us also, my goal in January would be to add a 4th hub coordinator. Ideally, we think in the Magic Valley to, I mean, if you have looked at Ashley's region, it's a big one. So it's, you know, regions 4, 5, and 6. And the Magic Valley, I think, is primed to have its own hub coordinator. So I would like to see an expansion of the hub coordinator position. Also, though, saying that we want the regions to be self-determined, you know, and so if region 1 and 2 goes, no, we want to stay, you know, we want to stay stemming, then that's fine. But maybe we are able to add staff to support that, but they still collaborate and are one, you know, one hub. So I think moving forward with providing additional support regionally through either additional hub coordinators or additional support to the hub coordinators is going to be critical. I see leveraging, again, so many of the things that are already being done across the state and figuring out how we all pull together better and communicate more effectively. And so that's going to be, you know, a big push for the ecosystem. I really, you know, I don't want to oversell this HiveBright platform, but we're really hoping this is a one-stop shop that provides a really easy, beautiful mechanism for people to network, communicate, have forums, find partners who have either common interests or somebody they need. Like, I need somebody as a mentor, you know, so how in my classroom, and so that we can search and do that. So, so those are some thoughts that I have. And again, the hiring of the next position, the program coordinator, is incredibly key and a really important position, as they will be overseeing some of those, you know, supporting the CSO program, the STEM discovery workshops, and me, in addition to the hub coordinators. So that's going to be an important piece. And I see lots of other questions here.
Could I speak to something quickly, Erica?
Yeah, absolutely.
Great, thank you. You know, one of the things that I just want to, because Raj had that wonderful question, and I think there could be a little bit more clarification about how funds work and how they're flowing, etc. The sponsorship that the STEM Action Center has given to the ecosystem, that is a fixed amount. And we won't be flowing funds through the foundation or through the STEM Action Center to them. But I just wanted to clarify on that because I think it could be a little confusing. As I did say, we could point donations to Idaho Business for Education because they are a nonprofit entity. And we do intend to do that if it makes sense, if someone's coming to us and it makes, and that donation makes a lot more sense within the ecosystem, we will point in that direction. But I just wanted to get that little point of clarification.
So it is 1 o'clock and I want to be mindful. It's actually 1:01. It just ticked over. Thank you, Ashley, for being a timekeeper for us. I do know that there are some other questions in, but some of them have been answered. You have our email addresses here.
Yeah.
We are all available to continue to answer questions, to continue this conversation with you. And I will say, Gina asked a question, you know, we're always looking for new ideas and things. It's part of the learning at the national level and bringing things back. If we find things working, we may look for ways to support new initiatives. But at this point, it's kind of where it is right now. And so please, here's our contact. This slide deck will be, and recording will be uploaded to both of our websites. So reach out with specific questions and or share this with others who weren't able to make it. And we appreciate your attendance today and your engagement and look forward to next steps.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, everybody. And again, that contact information is right there. So now is the moment to grab it. And I look forward to having wonderful conversations with so many of you in the future. Thank you so much for joining us today.